All right, so how do you decide when to list an item as an auction listing or as a fixed price buy it now listing? We're going to take a look at the two formats more carefully here because you can add a lot more profit to your bottom line by simply understanding when it makes more sense to list that item in an auction format and when it makes more sense to list that item in a fixed price format. So we're going to look at this in detail. This is very fundamental, but it's also important because over the long term, imagine you're going to do hundreds of transactions on eBay, and imagine how much money you might not make if you did it wrong. So we want to get you started off on the right foot. So let's look at the auction format. The auction format can actually be a one-day auction. I didn't list that here because they changed that recently. It can be a one-day auction. It can be a 3-day auction. It can be a 5-day, a 7-day, or a 10-day auction. An auction format has a starting price. So you set your starting price. Maybe it's 99 cents or $9.99. It has a duration, as we saw here, and it allows for many bidders who place a proxy bid. A proxy bid is simply where you tell eBay the highest amount you're willing to bid, and then eBay's computers bid on your behalf until you get to that high bid. You cannot sell multiples of an item in the auction format because we don't know what the price is going to end up at. Whereas with Buy It Now, it's a fixed price listing. You set the price of the item, let's say at $45. Therefore, you can sell 10 or 20, you can list 200 if you want of that item at $45 each. But since an auction is fluid and variable, we don't know what it's going to end up at, you can't sell multiple items in an auction format. Now, let me say a little bit about the one-day listing because I've made a lot of money with one-day auctions. And specifically with the product we just talked about, which is the Supreme 90-Day Workout video set. I would buy these locally at Southern California flea markets for $4, $5, and $6. And the reason I'd buy them so inexpensively is because nobody at the flea markets was interested in working out. I can't say nobody, but not a lot of people were that went to these flea markets were that interested in that product. So all I did was I bought the product in a place where it was in low demand, and I sold the product on eBay where it was in high demand, and it still is in high demand. Now, the one-day auction listings did fantastic for me, and here's why. When you list something that's in high demand in a one-day auction, people jump in because they know the auction's going to be over in less than 24 hours, right? It's a 24-hour listing. So they jump in early, and especially if you set the opening bid at a very low dollar amount, like $9.99 or even 99 cents. I started many of these listings at 99 cents. So people jump in because they're seeing a $50, $60, $80 item with a starting bid of 99 cents. They get excited. They're like, wow, if I win this auction, I get it for $1. Now, all these other people start piling on and bidding in that auction. And that's the makings of a great auction. When you have a lot of participation, you have people bidding each other out, fighting it out, getting emotionally attached to the item and not wanting other people to have that item. That's when you create a bidding frenzy. And one of the ways you do that is start with a very low opening bid. Now, the 24 hours is magic because people get excited. They know that once somebody's going to win this auction within 24 hours, and it appeals to people's sense of immediate gratification. They want to be able to know that they won that auction within a few hours. So these things get bid up really crazy. I've had these workout sets sell for $70, $80, $90, and I paid $5 or $6 for them. Okay, that's a lot of profit, right? And it's simply because I bought low at a place where the items were not in demand, and I sold high on eBay where these items were in high demand, and because I used the one-day auction format. So when an item is in extremely high demand and you have a lot of these items, that's when it makes a lot of sense to do either a one-day or a 3-day. In other words, a short duration auction. It's made me a ton of money, so I'm giving you this tip right here, and I hope you enjoy it and are able to use it. Now, when you've got an item that you want more exposure in the auction, like let's say you've got, I sell a lot of vintage Hot Wheels cars on eBay. I want to be sure that a lot of people in the collector community get to see these cars. So I typically will do a 7-day auction, sometimes even a 10-day auction if I have a very important piece up for auction, something that I'm expecting to get a lot of money for. So that's when you would go with a longer term listing, when you want more and more of that community to see that item. Then it really makes sense to give it more and more of that exposure. Um, so let's look at buy it now. When would you use a fixed price buy it now listing? Well, the good thing about the fixed price is everyone always knows what the price is. The buy it now price is always available. It's always listed. You can sell more than one item per listing. In other words, you could have a quantity of items, maybe 200 of the same item listed in a fixed price listing. You can also create a single multi-quantity listing and add in variations. So for example, let's say you have t-shirts that you're selling and the t-shirts have a happy face on them. Okay, and let's say that they're in real high demand on eBay. What you can do is you can create a variations listing. So maybe you have 10 of these t-shirts in size small. Then you have 30 of these t-shirts in size medium. You have 50 of these t-shirts in size large. You can actually set up a single listing on eBay that has the same price for all the t-shirts, but with different sizes. And then within that listing, a customer could pick. Let's say they have a family, right? And they want to have, the whole family wear the same t-shirt. So they could pick one small, one medium, one large, one extra large, and they could buy those all in that single listing. So it gives a very good flexibility to your listing and a good chance for people to buy these types of variations. And the t-shirt example is just one example. There are many other ways that you can use variations, such as colors, for example. Let's say you have shirts that are different colors, and you could have that as the variation. You can also let buyers make an offer by adding a best offer feature. Now, what you do here is you have a fixed price listing. So let's say you list an item for, let's use my Supreme 90-day workout video again. Let's say that I list it at $90, but I have a make offer feature. I use the best offer feature. And then people can just say, hey, I'd be willing to pay you $45 for that. And if I'm making enough money on it and it seems like a good deal, I'll just go ahead and say, okay, $45, and I accept their offer. Sometimes you can even negotiate back and forth. So let's say somebody, you've got a $90 item and somebody bids, not bids, but makes an offer of $45. You could go back and counter offer. You could say, look, 45 is too low, and there's a place where you can actually put this note in. You could say 45 is too low, I'm sorry, but I would be okay, or I would be willing to sell it for 75. Then the potential buyer has the option to counter offer you. And now they might say, well, 75 is kind of high, would you settle for 60? And then you have the chance to accept the offer or counter the offer one more time. So it mimics the real world of negotiating, and I've used this very successfully with selling vehicles. I've sold quite a few cars on eBay, mostly classic cars from the 60s and 70s, muscle cars and things like that. And typically what I'll do is I'll set the car price, the fixed price, at about 10 or 15 or 20% higher than I expect to get for the vehicle. But then I'll add the best offer feature and have people give me an offer, make me an offer on the car. And by doing this, I get multiple offers and I get to choose from among all those offers which one makes the most sense. So as you can see, Buy It Now has a good range of opportunities for you to be able to sell at a fixed price. And that's one of the reasons I think that the fixed price listings have kind of overtaken eBay quite a bit. So now let's look at some more practical examples of how you can use the auction as well as the Buy It Now listings for your eBay business.